Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, Tuesday, March 25th at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Almighty God, our Father, we come before you tonight with humble hearts, seeking wisdom and knowledge and guidance that can come from you, only you, Father. We pray for your grace and wisdom upon those who lead this meeting tonight, that you would grant them the wisdom and the leadership skills and abilities to help guide this community. Yes. Father, we thank you for the protection you have offered to this community and that you have given. So many instances, Father, where we can see your hand providing protection. We thank you for those who serve, those who risk their lives every day to protect us. So now, Father, we humbly bow in your presence, again seeking wisdom and guidance in all things. To you who is ruler and King Almighty, in the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Amen. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Mr. January, would you please call the roll of the council?
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Here.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Present.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Present.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Present.
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Here.
President Bella.
Here.
7 present.
7 present. Thank you. Moving on to petitions, communications, acknowledgements, and remonstrations. We have the Employee of the Month program for tonight, for March. Mr. Griffin. Mr. King.
Vice President, members of the council, Mr. January, thank you. Next to getting a vacation, this is my favorite thing to do. As you know, I would like the leadership of the street department to join me, please. The director and his associates, please. And I know, Ms. Ryan, I'm going to ask you to read the certificate this evening. I want to frame this a little bit. Firstly, honoring the people who really deliver the service for us and do the work, in the language of my faith tradition, if you'll forbear me, please, is remembering that a laborer is worthy of their hire. Mm-hmm. Would that we could pay them all the things we owe them for the good work they do, but they do it within the constraints of a budget, and they do it cheerfully, and they do it daily, and they come back every year to continue the work. Thank you for that miracle of that and that evidence of something positive going on. So I said something sacred, so I think I have to say something secular too, right? I'm going to quote that great leader, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. How's that? He said that success is always not just about greatness, although we think you're pretty great. It's about concerning and dedicating yourself every day to detail with such consistency that the work will eventually always lead to success, and greatness will take care of itself. That guy's pretty smart. So it's in that context that I want to welcome and celebrate and commend to all of you Josh Breitsprecher, a member of our, yes, please. Mr. Breitsprecher, please come and join us. And I'm going to ask Tracy Ryan, part of the supervisory staff of streets, to read the certificate, please.
Okay, Josh Breitsprecher. Sorry. I'm working on it. Has been with the street department since November of 2021. With his strong work ethic and attention to detail, he has become one of our best and brightest employees. Josh has gained the trust and respect of our senior staff members and has become a mentor for our newest employees. He continues to grow every day and will become a future leader in the street department. Thank you, John.
Do we need to stand in front for a
So-
little picture?
Yeah, so just let me say one thing real quick. So how we do this in our department with so many employees, we vote. We let all of our employees vote on who they feel should be Employee of the Month, and Josh is our Employee of the Month. So that's how we come about this.
All right.
Please, let's.
Congratulations. Thank you. Our next item is a letter of interest from a representative for the Metropolitan Board of Police Commissioners from Murphy Law Firm. This correspondence shall serve to confirm the undersigned's interest in representing the Town Board of Metropolitan Police Commission of the Town of Merrillville as its attorney, as well as my willingness to attend regular and special meetings of the Town Board of Metropolitan Police Commission. For legal services rendered, I propose an hourly rate of $200 per hour, plus any ordinary and necessary out-of-pocket expenses incurred upon submission of written documentation. Thank you for the opportunity. This was a request we got from our police commission asking us to appoint this attorney who has a wealth of knowledge in police commission and police merit board items. Is there a motion from the board?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak,
Second.
second by Counselor Neal, for approval of appointing Murphy Law Firm to represent the Police Commission on all legal matters. Open for discussion. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you all. Moving on tonight to the public hearings. Mr. Svetnov.
Yes, Mr. President. At this time, the proofs of publication have been reviewed. Everything's in order under Indiana law, and we should proceed on this public hearing matter.
Is that for both of them listed, Joe?
Let's do one at a time. So we'll do 2508 first,
Oh, okay.
and then we'll
So open up for public hearing now on this particular resolution, 25-08. It is an additional appropriation of funds. Is there any public comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, this will be taken up later on the agenda as it's listed. Resolution 25-17, Mr. Svetnov.
Again, we reviewed the proofs of publication. They appear to be in order, and at this time, the public hearing is necessary to complete.
Very good. Before the public hearing, though, we do need to read opening remarks for the Community Development Block Grant Program. Each spring, the Lake County Community Economic Development Department applies to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for new funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program. One of the applicant requirements is to hold public hearings in the communities where CDBG funding is allocated in order to obtain input from local residents on the proposed uses of the new funding. For fiscal year 2025, is that correct, Michael?
Yes. It should say 2025, not 2051.
Thank you. The Town of Merrillville CDBG allocation is approximately $151,150. The most common use for these funds is for infrastructure, including street reconstruction, sanitary sewers, water line extensions, storm drainage improvements, sidewalks, and projects to remove architectural barriers like handicapped access, such as curb cuts and wheelchair ramps. CDBG funds may also be used to eliminate slums and blight through demolition or unsafe buildings or other clearance activities. CDBG funding infrastructure projects may only be done in areas where the neighborhood is at least 42% low to moderate income, according to HUD guidelines. In most cases, an income survey must be done to qualify the area of funding eligibility. The income information taken by the survey is strictly confidential and is used solely for the purpose of determining the area's eligibility for CDBG funding. Handicapped access projects and demolition may be done anywhere in a community without the need for area income determinations. The public hearing is just the start of an application process for Lake County. There are a series of legal advertisements and comment periods that take place during the summer prior to final grant approval from HUD in late August. New CDBG funding is released to the county and its entitlement communities on or around September 1st and needs to be expended by June 15th of the following year. I will now open it up for public comment in regards to the use of CDBG funding. This resolution, again, will be taken up later on as it is stated on the agenda. Moving on to the consent agenda tonight, we had the accounts payable register voucher approval of March 25th, the approval of town council meeting minutes of March 11th, the approval of council affairs meeting minutes for March 18th, and the contract approval for the BFS letter from town engineer Steve King.
So moved.
A motion by Mrs. Uselak with a second by Councilor Edwards. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Moving on tonight to standard committee reports, Budget and Finance, Councilor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. There's no report for Budget and Finance tonight.
Very good. Street Department and Park Maintenance, Mrs. Uselak.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I had a call last week from Chapel Hill, which is a new part of Ward 4. They are south of 30. There is development going on, and with the big windstorm that we've had, a lot of the drywall and a lot of particles that they were working with blew all over. So it was all over the area. And thank God Steve King set out a couple of the street department guys to help the residents that were trying to help the developer. But anyway, that is all cleared up in Chapel Hill. And Steve is still patching the streets and sweeping. And let me see what else. Oh, the leaf pickup will be around April the 14th. So that'll be next month, so get your leaves ready. And Steve and his crew are still doing the park maintenance. That's the local parks, sweeping and cleaning and picking up the garbage and whatever. So that's my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Uselak. So Steve, the leaf pickup, it's just one time through the town, is that right, to let residents get leaves out that weren't taken care of last fall?
That's correct.
Okay. Very good. Moving on tonight to council affairs. Councilor Pettit.
Mr. President, we had a council affairs meeting Wednesday and Friday. There are several first reading ordinances that are on the agenda that will be taken up later on.
Thank you. Personnel policy and employee benefits, Councilor Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. We do have a current opening for building maintenance assistant at the community center. It is posted on the Merrillville.in.gov website as well as Indeed.com. So if you know someone who is qualified, please look at the job description in detail. And if you know someone that meets the qualifications, please have them fill out an application. That is all I have for that report.
Thank you. Environmental affairs, Councilor Uselak.
Oh, I have no report on that as of now. Thank you.
Public safety, Ms. Hardaway.
For my report, we are coming up on contract negotiations, and so we will hold a meeting with all council members, and it's an executive session, so that will be tomorrow. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Elections, public relations, and town beautifications. Vice President Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We're getting ready to prepare to get all of our spring flowers. And Steve, if you don't mind giving us an update on how everything is going with that greenhouse and our plants.
So we had a greenhouse installed. They finished it up actually this morning, the installers. We've got, currently in the Mo's building, we've got almost 2,000 plants growing. We started them, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so, and every time I go in that building, I'm just amazed at the progress we've made. So we'll start planting them pretty soon. The baskets have been ordered. Pretty sure the hanging baskets have been ordered. We're also repairing planters that have been damaged by vehicles. Hopefully Hubinger's out there this week to take care of the latest mess out there, and we can get that going. But we're ready to go.
Thank you, Steve. That's all for the town beautification, President Bella.
Thank you. Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Utility Liaison,
No report, President Bella.
Parks, Recreation, and Dean and Barbara White Community Center, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we have our standing committee, Michael, meeting at 5 o'clock on Thursday, correct?
That is correct, Counselor Pettit.
Okay, Jerry, you and I will handle that. Two of the items, we received an email about a Merrillville Garden Club at Rosenbaum Park, and we also need to discuss the sponsorships at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center.
Is that it, Sean?
Yep.
Moving on tonight to special committees, abandoned and blighted properties. Counselor Haynes Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report at this time.
Special town projects. Counselor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We currently have going in conjunction with Ross Township for our Easter activities. So there will be an Easter Bunny Blast at Hidden Lake Park on April the 12th from 11 to 1 o'clock. They'll have bike giveaways, pictures with the Easter Bunny, candy dash, horse rides, and face painting. And we also have already started working on our Juneteenth and 4th of July, so you'll probably see that information coming out soon. We are starting early to get sign-ups for the 4th of July parade. Oh, I'm sorry. We are also looking for bike donations because we're having a bike giveaway at the Easter Bunny Blast. So if you have any brand-new bikes, or if you know of an organization that would like to donate some brand-new bikes, please reach out to the community and let us know. And that's all.
Thank you. Semi-Quincentennial Committee. Counselor Shi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report at this time.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to Department and Commission reports. Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, Ms. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Lake County Solid Waste Management District, Mrs. Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. I attended the meeting on March the 20th at the Lake County Solid Waste. They are now getting their summer programs up and started. They're encouraging parents to go look on their website to sign up for the programs. They have a wide variety of ages, dates, and times. They'll have activities like bowling, what's in water. They're also going to do the edible landfill again, which we heard was really, really nice. Craft with the boat, recycling carnival. So they have a lot of activities that they have planned. Our next meeting is scheduled for May the 15th. And the next date for the household hazardous waste is April the 12th. The first one was just this past week in Crown Point. The one in April is going to be in Munster at the Public Works at 508 Fisher Street. That is the only location where they will not have paper shredding. So if you go look on the website, you will see they have the dates for the entire year, but that is the only location for the year that they're not going to have paper recycling. Last, they have the latex paint collection. That is going to be on one day, Saturday, May the 10th, from 9 to 1, 8695 Broadway in Merrillville. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. The Shared Ethics Entity, Counselor Hardaway.
The Joint Board of Delegates and the Shared Ethics Committee will be holding training for those on both the committee and the board. Also, there has been an email circulating between us on ethics training. Am I correct?
Yes,
Do we have a date for that, Mr. Griffin?
we do, but I can't summon it, but I believe it's in May.
May 25th? Okay, so May 25th is that date for that training. So please check your emails. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Fire Territory Board.
No report, Mr. President.
Clerk Treasurer's Office, Mr. January.
Mr. President, we, the town of Merrillville, at the end of February 28th, had $45,230,000 of $599.51. Of that, we dispersed for the year-to-date $10,934,959.49. Just in terms of the cash balance, the majority of it is held through the RDA with $16,730,636.80. Our general fund had $4,540,592.61. All of our accounts are in balance, no fraud or anything to report. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on tonight to department managers, or directors, excuse me. Jerry, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our Parks Master Plan final public community meeting is April 3rd at 6 p.m. at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. I also wanted to highlight some programs that we're introducing starting next month. We have dance classes for adult and youth participants, as well as yoga classes for adult and youth participants. We also have a flag football league. Registration is open for our summer league, as well as a summer basketball league, which registration is currently open for all those programs. So if you visit merrillvilleparks.recdesk.com, you're able to sign up for those activities. And that's all.
Thank you. Police Department, Chief Nusis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have any numbers to report, as I reported my January and February numbers last meeting, and we're still in March, so I'll have those numbers hopefully by the next meeting. Just wanted to make note of one of the things that we did have. We had a very difficult decision that we had to make, and we had to dissolve our MTOS tactical team, our SWAT team. In return, we joined back up with the Northwest Region SWAT team. It was a very difficult decision for us to make, but it was the only financially feasible decision for us to make at the time. It was very difficult for us because all the officers that were involved in our MTOS did such an excellent job, and they put a lot into it. But it was just unfortunate that we don't have the funding to do this and support it anymore. In return now, being back with NWR, we are going to have 3 officers going in there this year and possibly 2 to 3 more for next year. But what we are getting is approximately a 60 to 70 man team, maybe even more in return. So it's going to be significantly less for us to fund. So it's a win overall. It was just hard to explain to everybody that put their heart and soul into making that team happen. We are going to be doing Coffee with a Cop at Panera Bread on April 17th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's located at 303 East 81st Avenue. Anybody that wants to come out, you're welcome. You get a chance to kind of chit-chat with the police officers and kind of get the human experience, right? Instead of just seeing us doing our jobs, this is more of a talk with everybody. And it'll be good for the community, it'll be good for everybody to kind of get an understanding of who we are and that we are, after all, human. We are also going to be hosting a police community night. I haven't posted that one yet. The other one I did post on our Facebook page. I haven't posted the other one yet because I'm going to come up with kind of a better name maybe for it. But that's going to be May 22nd. I'll be releasing more information on that. And that's all I have to report. But on another note, I have one more thing that's not associated with police work. If I can.
The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Being that I'm a first-generation born Greek American, there's something that I would like to read today. Today, March 25th, Greece and the Greek diaspora across the globe honors and celebrates our annual Greek Independence Day. This day, etched deeply in our hearts, marks the momentous beginning of the War of Greek Independence in 1821. It holds a profound significance for every Greek, no matter where they are or where they may reside, as it serves as a powerful reminder of the resilience, unyielding defiance, and boundless courage displayed by the Greek people in the face of tyranny. For nearly 400 years, Greeks endured the hardships of Ottoman rule and lived as slaves under the Ottomans' foreign domination. Yet despite the suffering, the unbreakable spirit of the Greek people never wavered. The relentless will to be free fueled a revolution that would ultimately lead to victory. In 1829, the signing of the Treaty of Adrianople gave birth to a new era, establishing the independent Greek state we cherish today. This day is not just a moment of historical reflection, but a celebration of the enduring strength and pride of the Greek people. It reminds us of the sacrifices made and the dreams realized, the same dreams that continue to inspire generations and the generations to come. As a first-generation Greek-American-born citizen, I am honored to have been given the opportunity to share this with the community I serve, the town I love, and the place I call home. Thank you.
Planning and Building Department, Ms. Sheila Shine.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the Planning and Buildings Department, ongoing struggle to get rid of paper, I am pleased to announce that Bitco Software has provided us unlimited storage. So therefore, we'll be able to scan and store every permit that we get in, and once the permit is closed out, it can be shredded. Also, the bigger projects can come in on a drive, and we can put that permit in, and we can load those plans right up into the permit. So, Mr. President, we will be having little to no paper storage in the Planning and Building Department.
That's it.
That's a long-standing issue with Ms. Shine and myself. Thank you, Sheila. Street Department, Mr. King.
Just a couple quick things. The construction projects for 2025 have started. Our contractors working in the Broadfield subdivision right now as we speak. Also, we will be having a pre-construction meeting for our community crossings projects, which is going to begin here shortly. I already mentioned the greenhouse, and the speed humps will start being installed sometime next week. They'll start installing.
Steve, if you wouldn't mind, I've gotten a few calls about a lot of location flags being around in neighborhoods. They're very pretty, but residents want to know what they're there for and what's going on, and I also see some curb cuts happening. Could you update us, please?
So the locates are for the construction project. We're doing some curb removal, some sidewalk removal and replacement, which requires utility locates. Residents have received notification from the contractor. So everybody should be aware of what's going on. If anybody gets a call that they didn't get notified, let me know, and I'll make sure it happens.
Mr. President, to Steve. Steve, when you talk about the construction that's going on in Broadfield, that is our list from last year that the seven of us, we did the bond issue for the ones and twos, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the first phase of that, yes.
This is the first phase. There's still a second part to that list. That list was 6 million. There's another 6 million that the seven of us, we have to address.
Right.
Yeah,
we had a total of the worst rated streets in the town. We had a total estimate of $12 million. We're in the process of doing the first 6 million.
Did they do work last fall, though?
A little bit, yes. They did some work last fall, some paving work last fall.
Okay.
But the majority of it's going to happen now.
Okay.
Steve, would you mind, I'm sorry, again, explaining what ones and twos mean? We throw it around because we know, but we have a lot of residents here. It'd be good education.
So our roads are rated by a PASER system. It's called. Every municipality in the state uses this to rate the roads. The ones and twos are the lowest rated roads in the town. We embarked on doing the ones and twos probably a couple years ago now. We did the first set of 1s and 2s, lowest rated roads, and now we're in the second batch now.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to the town manager, Mr. Griffin.
Mr. President, members of the council, you should have received before the meeting a copy of the second of the 2 reports you received from our office prepared by Ms. Rosas. This is the one that's a compilation of the staff report that our municipal code requires. Unless you have a specific question for me, I do believe it speaks for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Moving on tonight to general orders, we have first reading ordinances, ordinance 25-06. It's an ordinance that adjusting the fees and charges, repealing all other ordinances and conflicts, and these are about the fees for the building and planning department.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of 25-06. It's my understanding, Ms. Shine, that we haven't changed any permit fees in the planning and building department in a number of years. Could you please update us on that?
So yes, the building department has never changed the fees. What they would do is they would update, if they gave the inspectors a raise, they would update the inspection fees, but the fees haven't been changed since 2008. So I think in 2025 that it would be a good time for us to adjust our fees.
Very
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the motion from the council? Anything else to add, Mr. Griffin? No? Hearing no other comments, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Yes. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Aye.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 25-07. It is a ordinance to further amend the Merrillville Municipal Code to include the payment in advance of board or commission allowance law as currently in force as ordinance number 21-09. This ordinance will amend and clarify the existing terms relative to the Parks and Recreations Department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak. The chair will recognize Mrs. Neal for a second. Questions or comments on the motion? Mr. Griffin, anything to add?
Mr. President, as you know, that the council took steps to update this language earlier in the year, for which I'm grateful. During the course of meeting and onboarding our new director, along with our recreation coordinator, there was discussion, frankly, about the timeliness of paying contract workers that support the work of our programming. Not so much for our instructors for yoga and those, I don't even want to say them because there'll be all these great programs, but officials that will officiate volleyball or basketball. In order for them to be clearly able to be paid before the next meeting, but still only after they've done the work for which they're paid, we're proposing in this ordinance to add one of the other codicils, which would say vendor payments in consequence of recreation or special event programs. That will cover all of culture and recreation. It will allow the special events committee also for any vendors it has that are in consequence of the events that they schedule. It will give them that flexibility. We'll still have controls. We have to follow under Indiana law. There has to be an invoice. There has to be documentation for the payment that's going to be made. There has to be an appropriation. But this will actually allow us to have a greater likelihood of getting talent to do officiating for the programming that I'm looking forward to the department to produce.
Thank you. Anything else from the council? Hearing no other comments, Mr. January?
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Aye.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on tonight to ordinance 25-08 is the ordinance of the town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing additional appropriations in the 2025 budget of the general fund. You'll see the amount is $122,000, $754. Mr. Griffin, anything else to add?
Mr. President, yes. This is the second quarter pursuant to a court order related to the disposition of the municipal court. Because the second quarter will begin at the end of March, that is to say, the beginning of April, regardless of the disposition of the court one way or another with regard to the ordinance you'll be considering later this evening, it would be our request, please, that you would consider this under suspension of the rules, consider it as first reading, and take up the matter of second reading the same evening in which it's been introduced pursuant to your rules. We would like to have this money in place and reported so that there will be continuity of operations regardless, again, of the outcome of your vote on the other ordinance. So the second quarter will be in place. That will also be consistent with the instructions in the court order that we've received.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, seconded by Counselor Shi. Open for discussion. Hearing none, Mr. January.
Sure.
Roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. I'll entertain a motion at this time to suspend the rules tonight to read ordinance 25-08 on second reading.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Counselor Hardaway, Counselor Neal. Motion to suspend the rules. Discussion? Hearing none, the vote is for suspension. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor. The motion carries. We will suspend the rules tonight to read this ordinance 25-08 on second and final reading. The amounts are the same. We know what it's about. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Counselor Neal, seconded by Leona. For approval on second and final reading of this ordinance. Open for discussion. Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal.
There's no public
Yes.
comment on moving money, right? Hold off, please.
Sure.
Do we need public comment?
It's a second reading ordinance.
We don't do it on
Michael?
every second reading ordinance. Mr. Griffin?
Mr. President, I have looked to see whether or not there was any provision in your code that's in the code. There may be an ordinance around, but after conferring with the town attorney today, it has been your practice from time to time for second reading ordinances of great pith and nature to be allowed to have comment. So if the council doesn't object, it would not be out of order.
Okay. Open for the public. Is there any public comment on this particular ordinance of 25-09? It is a transfer of funds of $122,000 so we can pay the court workers during the second quarter of this year. Is there any public comment? Let the record show no public comment. I'm sorry?
You said 2509.
It's 25.
2508, thank you. 2508. Oh, go ahead, thank you.
One, I'm Darian Collins, 2505 West 65th Avenue. We're glad to hear this, as we do want to keep the court open and operational. We know it's in limbo, so we are glad to hear that at least they will be paid and they can function. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, Mr. January will take the roll now.
Sure. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries.
I thank the council.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for the corrections. Moving on tonight to ordinance 25-09. It is a ordinance to amend the Merrillville Municipal Code to reestablish the federal and the local forfeiture and seized asset funds. Mr. Griffin.
Mr. President, members of the council, thank you. I did keep the Council Affairs Committee busy last time. We had a lot for them to consider. This is a housekeeping matter. Currently, our code provides for a property forfeiture fund, and it's been used much like a federal forfeiture fund. However, we needed a local forfeiture fund, and presently, in order not to have it be nowhere, local forfeitures are also deposited to the credit of this fund, but it's the position of the State Board of Accounts that the federal forfeiture is treated like a grant. We can't have that commingled anymore. This will clean up all of that if you will adopt it. It will create the two discrete funds for the purposes that the law requires of these. It will also have a protocol at the end in order to how and which we take the money from the current fund and dispatch it to the two new funds. There's also continuity of liability and resources for both funds in the transition. And this is just a housekeeping matter that we hope the council will dispatch with its goodwill and favor.
Thank you. Is there a motion from the council?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Counselor Shi. For approval of ordinance 25-09. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor. The motion then carries. Thank you. Moving on tonight to ordinance number 25-10. It's an ordinance to amend the terms related to the rainy day fund of the town of Merrillville pursuant to Indiana Code 36-1-8-5.1. Mr. Griffin, anything else to add to this?
Mr. President, yes, the town of Merrillville has established a rainy day fund. However, the language in it did need to be updated because of changes in the laws that informed it before, particularly with the income tax fund being changed, eliminating Article 3.5 and creating a new one, Article 3.6. Also, we needed clarification on the purposes for which the money can be spent directly from this fund. This retains the existing purposes for which the unit had and adds also for any lawful purpose of the municipality as part of its usefulness. Other than that, again, it's more of a housekeeping matter than anything else.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Counselor Chandler Felton. For approval of ordinance 25-10. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, that motion carries. Thank you all. We're getting through them, guys, I promise. Moving on to ordinance 25-11. It's an ordinance amending the Town of Merrillville Municipal Code, converting the office of Town Clerk Treasurer to a separate office or Town Controller. We had discussed this in our workshop. I'll entertain a motion to defer.
Motion to defer.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Hardaway, second by Uselak. Sorry?
All three of us.
All of us.
Everybody.
Second by, well, the chair's going to recognize Counselor
There
Uselak
you go.
for the record. Open for discussion. Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Moving on tonight to second reading ordinances, we have ordinance 24-17. It's an ordinance repealing town ordinances 19-27B and 22-19 and all corresponding town code sections and ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith. Mr. Griffin, that's a mouthful.
Mr. President, this is an ordinance that was taken up back in 2024. there was a dispute as to whether or not a 3-3, one abstention vote represented a signal for a tie. In some conventions, it is. There is some case law that suggested otherwise. However, the Lake County courts have ruled that this had to be addressed. At your last meeting, you recorded and reduplicated for the record this 3-3 vote with one abstention, and then the clerk treasurer announced for the record his breaking of the tie in favor of passage under first reading. Pursuant to the rules of our municipality, this requires a second reading. Just to be clear, a vote yes on this would mean that you support restoring the court and repealing the ordinances, that I believe. Is that not correct?
Correct.
A yes vote will then restore the court and take over all the former repealing. A no vote would be in favor of not restoring the court. I don't think I have anything more to add.
Anything else to add, Joe?
No, not at this time.
Do we need to have open comment on this?
Yeah, we have.
Okay. Chair, I entertain a motion. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Councilor
Second.
Shi, second by Mrs. Uselak. Any discussion from the council? Yeah, right. Hearing none, open to the public. Is there any public comment on this ordinance 24-17? Please approach the podium, state your name and address, and we will allow 3 minutes for comment.
My name is Shonda Flowers, address 6137 Connecticut Street, Merrillville, Indiana. I am currently the court administrator for the town and for the court. Somehow, there seems to be a misunderstanding that the court's inability to want to sit down with the current council to have conversations about what could have been done through these 5 years in which we've been in litigation. Interesting enough, I can just say personally, with regards to what has been spent in litigation for the attorneys, for which the town has had to pay for our attorneys have exceeded over $250,000 within this 5 years. It's not including what has also happened with regards to the town attorney who has represented you all and what has been paid. Interesting enough, we talk about the town not having monies to be able to figure out, or the court is not making the money. First, we're not in business to make money. That's number one. We're here as a service commodity for the community. The monies that have been wasted in litigation versus conversations in which we've had or could have had to try to figure out what we can do, not just for this town, but for the residents of this town. I was privileged to a conversation or a meeting that took place last night with regards to the court refused to come to the table. I know I personally worked on a presentation to try to give to each and every one of you all with regards to numbers that you had in combats to tying a direct correlation to why monies was not coming through the court as well as the town. And I can recall personally, when I originally tried to give it to Councilwoman Hardaway, you absolutely refused in a hallway. You did, I think just at the end of last year, did receive that package, but that has truly been exactly the mindset of this leadership group. In order to get to a place of being able to figure out what works, we have to be willing to come to the table. Quotes in the newspaper stating that the disrespect of a decision by a previous council really kind of comes down to he didn't do what you told him to do versus what your residents could possibly want to entertain. If we could simply act like leaders and sit down and see what we could have done to be able to get to a level of success, probably would have been a great start in wasting the money that we need so dearly for our police department and those of the fire department. Thank you.
Brian Messart, 68th Place. I would like to endorse everything that Shonda just said. The court, a lot of times we're arguing about money and other quantitative things that we can measure, but we often forget about the qualitative things. What the truancy court program, which reduces crime during school hours and also helps families get their kids in school. And when kids are in school, they learn more and they tend to be more productive. That's a qualitative thing, and it's kind of hard to quantify that. That's worth it. There's other things like code enforcement. We have our local court is the end result of the code enforcement process. We have Shonda, who lives in Merrillville, and Judge Valesco, who lives in Merrillville. You have Merrillville residents who run the Merrillville court, who understand Merrillville as a community. They understand us, and so your judgments are going to be that. If someone gets a ticket for a broken taillight, they could probably swing by town hall, and a bailiff could probably look at the broken taillight. Okay, it's fixed. Move along. I think we, as a community, all want that. We need to start looking at some of the things. People, we come up here and we scream about a lot of things, splash pads and parks and, this and that, street departments and potholes. But oftentimes we don't talk about the court and what they bring. They bring just as much value as the other departments. And we need to start thinking about that value in a qualitative. It improves our life. This is one thing that I absolutely believe in that brings value to Merrillville, and we should keep it. Thank you.
Pablo Payan, 8031 Massachusetts Street. So what blows my mind is that some of these councilmen have been on here for over 20 years. Mr. Bella, on your website, you said that the town has been losing money for the last 10 years. For those past 10 years, you've been on this council.
No, that's not accurate.
So,
Served 12 years.
oh, okay, so even worse,
Years.
12 years. Okay, so,
No, I had a
so then,
10-year gap.
didn't you think about, say, the first year, this town, the court is losing money, let's figure out how we can correct this. It's not a store to make revenue, okay? We look at it first year, do some countermeasures, some problem solving. Year 2, nothing. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, nothing. And then you vote to shut the court down because it's losing money. But then Sean gives Andrea $1 million, and the Boys and Girls got $2 million last year. How is that possible? But we don't want to shut down the court? That's a service to the town? Defunding the court? What else are we going to defund? The police? The fire department? You guys already do that, giving out tax abatements and expanding TIF zones. It just blows my mind that you guys don't think about the residents. Who are you thinking about? Corporations? That's for sure, because you guys voted on all these tax abatements. You guys didn't listen to the residents? It's a shame. I can't believe this.
Good evening. Stephen Mays, President of the Gary branch of NACP. It serves all of Lake County with the exception of Hammond. I just want to visit with you. The court's fundamental purpose is to resolve disputes. We have a lot of disputes right here in this room now. And we can't hide up under a rug. It's good for our young people. When young kids start out and they have a problem, it's easier for the parents to come to court here than anywhere else. It's easy for truancy. Merrillville schools want it. Our prosecutor, Bernard Carter, he wants it. Our clerk wants it. It builds better relations with the police. So fundamentally, who are you serving? It's a public service. Serve your residents. I don't mind you spending money for other things, but don't cut back on your court, which is a fundamental service that the town needs. Reevaluate your priorities, make the right decision. Thank you.
Good evening. Kimberly Collins. I live at 1856 West 59th Place here in Merrillville. And I am speaking definitely in support of the court. I don't really think that you understand the importance, especially when it comes to truancy. I don't recall seeing a number of you actually being there to see the service that it provides. A lot of times people think of it as being something negative, but it's actually in place to help the families that are here in this community. There is a free program. The court partners with the CAPS program that provides free services despite all of the rumors and the bad information that you can see on social media about the cost that's associated with it. It actually helps the residents. And if your intention or if your position is to serve the people in the community, I would think that your vote will reflect that, and it would not reflect your personal differences or whatever issues that you have personally with the individuals that are responsible for running the court. I would ask again that your vote reflect the opinions and the wants of the people who reside in the town of Merrillville. Thank you.
Chris Holst, 800 West 73rd Avenue. Tonight, we have a great opportunity to fix a wrong. We get to do over. We get to reinstore the courts, keep it. It's as valuable a resource as any other resource we have in this town. Steve and his guys do a great job. We know how important he is and the services they provide. The court is no different. We can't put a value on money when it comes to the future of this town. Our children, the residents, we deserve to have a town court that reflects us, that looks out for our best interests. The only thing we need right now, who's going to be that champion and stand up for the town, for the residents, and say, I'm willing to put it on the line. We need this. We can't be without it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Robert L. Buggs, and I live in Gary, Indiana. I just want to ask you all, when this town was incorporated, Merrillville, and had it said, well, we're going to incorporate Merrillville without a town court, some of the same people up there would have been fighting for it. Now, I don't see, being a senior citizen myself, why would somebody that lives in Merrillville, has all the amenities of all other departments, for maybe a little traffic or broken taillight or something, have to go to another city to answer that, with the way the buses is and transportation. So I think the citizens, all of y'all up there was elected by the citizens, these people, and they are telling you what they want. And I would think that any town council, city council, and any entity of government is supposed to be for the people, not just a few. So I would hope and pray that you think about what you're doing, because you're impacting the lives of many. Maybe you all don't need a court, but you have to think about the citizens that elected you. It is a vital part of any city administration. Because if you don't, if the Merrillville citizens have to go where, they go into another court in another city, right? There's a reason they had this court here, and it should stay here. The citizens want it here, so you should honor the rights of the citizens. Thank you.
Sabina Miller, 3120 West 75th Place. A few years ago, when I first heard about the proposal to close the courts, and I heard the numbers, it seemed to make sense to me. And I actually thought, yeah, okay, why not, right? The next meeting I went into, I heard several school board members and people, principal, whatever, came forward and started talking about truancy court. That was the first time I actually decided to change my mind, because that's a lot of kids that are being impacted and potentially parents. But I want to take a different spin on this. Now, I was in corporate life most of my life. Now I'm self-employed. because of the job I have, I happen to go to court quite a bit for some things like code enforcement. I may be in Gary Court or in Hammond Court or in Lake County Superior Court. When I go to court, it usually takes me hours, not only on driving down there, but then waiting my turn, then going through the code enforcement like Gary. It'll typically take me about 3 to 4 hours to get through it, right? So Hammond, always, you have to wait long times before you get through something. So that means that everybody who has to go has to basically take a day off from work to plan to be attending a different court rather than having one that's close nearby. I don't have to travel a half an hour or more to get there, park, get in, whatever, wait my turn. So my appeal is think about how much burden it will actually put on everyone that has to go to a court that's significantly further away and that already has a long waiting list for items that may happen there. So, thank you.
Maceo Rainey, Vice President of the Prairie Creek Homeowners Association. We're a small voting block located on the northeast corner of 73rd and Wickham. Cold, calculated, catastrophic are all the adjectives that we felt the last time we had the Democratic door slammed in our faces when it came to critical votes that impact the quality of life in Merrillville, Indiana. No more, residents. I want you to watch with a careful eye of the votes that are placed tonight. Because so many times before, we've stood right at this podium and watched the very same people we elected to serve our interests slam the door in our face against our will, against our feedback, against our best interests. No more. No more will we be Walter Payton stiff-armed when it comes to the voting interests of our rights. They've heard the citizens. They've heard our voices. They've heard our pleas. No more can we stand for getting the door slammed in our faces and ask for us to take out our wallets and checkbooks and pay for our own oppression. That's exactly what we're doing. We're financing our own oppression. And educated people won't stand for that. So I ask the citizens right now of Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the residents of Merrillville, Indiana, to take a stand tonight, to watch the democratic process unfold, unravel right in front of your face. Because cold, callous, catastrophic is what we felt the last time the door was closed in our face.
I'm not sure I can follow that. My name is Gene Velasco. I am the judge of the Merrillville Town Court, and this has never been about money, okay? I was first selected by the Precinct Committee organization back in December 11th of 2019. The day before, the council voted to shut down the court at the end of 2020. However, we got to March of 2020, and what happened? COVID. And we were shut all the way down to that end of that year. I forced a lawsuit to try to get the decision changed. The court in the Superior Court kept me from accepting any new cases. So from 2000 and the end of 2019 through the end of my first term, I got no new cases, and therefore, if there was any losses, which is not, this is not about losing of money or not, never occurred under my watch, okay? I try to tell the council that we could make this viable, you know, if they let me, but I can't do that without any cases. So this year, for the first time, at the beginning of January, we started getting cases. I think we have either 300 to 400 tickets and ordinance violations already filed, and I think we're nearly 300 or so misdemeanor cases. Okay, we're going to find out where, you know, where the money's going to go. We're going to keep track of all that if we get the support that we need in order to stay open. Any money that came between the first day of January 2020 through my first term was something that had nothing to do with actual operations because we weren't getting any new cases. All we did was try to administer the cases that we had and try to generate money, and it did generate funds, okay? There's no question about that. I'm standing here to argue not only for that aspect of it, but also for the aspect regarding the truancy court. Now, the truancy court doesn't just help the people who are involved in the truancy court. You know, many a time, if you follow or read Facebook, you see that people take it seriously, and it impacts other people who might otherwise not attend school. And that is a huge thing. Now, the prior council heard all about that from the school. We had 10 or so administrators the last time this issue came up, and they all testified that, yes, that's true, they want it to be kept. Now, give me 1 second. It doesn't matter about the money, you know, the council offered to give money to the schools to operate their own system. It can't be done legally, all right? It can only be done with enforcement, and the enforcement happens to be here. So I would say to you to remember how the people vote in the election and see what happens. All right? Thank you.
Darian Collins, 2505 West 65th Avenue. I just want to say, back before this current council was elected, one of the planks that a lot of you ran on was keeping the court open. We met with some of you in your homes, we talked to you individually, and there are people on this council who vow to fight to keep this court open. And we have not seen that follow through with some of you. And so I'm glad that that was brought up, that remember how, you know, we hoped, we promised, we begged, and I look at some of the personnel changes that have happened in the town. We've added people in HR. We want to add police for public safety. We want to have a coffee with a cop on April 17th and a Merrillville Police Community Night. And so when those people have issues and have to go to court, where are they going to go? They're going to go to people that don't know them, people that don't sympathize with them, people that don't understand them. And so we have to be able to follow through and protect and go all the way through the system. Some things are not supposed to be moneymakers, but we're supposed to figure out how to keep them in place, like the U.S. Post Office, like when the union people and the people were out there picketing on Sunday to keep that facility open. Now, we know that the Merrillville Post Office is the most operational, and it's the best post office in Northwest Indiana. So I doubt that that office is going to be closed, but we just don't know. And so we're asking, and I'm going to say this, we are asking to figure out a way and make it work. I just heard that we had $16 million with RDA. Well, help me understand, what is that $16 million sitting there for? What can we use it for as a town of Merrillville? Can we introduce appropriations to help with our court? Because that is something that helps our community thrive and be operational and grow and be stable. There are things that we can do. If, you talk about money, people pay for what they want and they find the money to do it. And so we're asking you, and we're going to be watching your votes, make the right decision. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Cossey. I'm the first vice president of the Gary branch of the NAACP. As President May says, we represent all of Northwest Indiana with the exception of Hammond. I stand here tonight to ask that you support the continuation of keeping the court open, and that's for many reasons. One reason is that it is a public service opportunity. It is not a for-profit entity. It's not here to make money. It is here to support the community. We talk about the truancy court. There are many kids that may fall victim to the system. They have to go to Crown Point. That's time away for their parents. That's time away. You have officers that may issue traffic tickets or whatnot. That is time that the officers have to go to Crown Point to be there to hear their cases versus being in Merrillville where they can resume their normal activities after they attend court. The other thing that I would say is there has to be a way to figure out how to allocate money to keep the court open. There are ARPA dollars. I don't know if you all have what you have in your ARPA dollars. I heard a budget of $45 million. There are many ways that we can be creative to ensure that the residents keep what is a necessary facility in this town. And what I will say is that residents of all towns and all cities have to pay attention. If your elected official does not vote in your interest, then you have to figure out a way to get someone that will represent your community.
Hello, good evening, councilwomen and councilmen, and my esteemed fellow colleagues. My name is Kelly White Gibson. I am the former clerk treasurer of the town of Merrillville, and I just want to say that when I took office, there was a lot more support for the court, and over time, that support dwindled. I think it's important to note that diplomacy, deciding to come together and sitting down and trying to have a meeting of the minds to try to figure out how to move forward is the best way for our government to move forward. Merrillville is the largest town in the state of Indiana. The largest town. It really should be a city. So why would we have a court? We absolutely need a court. And the amount of money that we have spent paying for litigation expenses over the past 5 years, we certainly could have continued with the court. I suggested personally, as an attorney and as a person who was a board member for the Truancy Court in Gary, I suggested programs that we could institute in the town of Merrillville with the court that would benefit the town, that could bring in revenue, even though the court is not meant to create money for the town. That's not the purpose. It's a service. Just like the police department is a service. They do not have to create money. The amount of money that this town has spent in litigation expenses fighting against the court and trying to close a court and keeping the court from having cases during that time period so they could not show that they could be viable. Chief Costas could have hired so many more officers, and we need those officers. Our town is growing. Our town is growing, and it's growing with people who are coming from outside of our town. And those people need to be protected. We've got a whole bunch of hotels that our officers are constantly having to monitor, so they're not there to be in the community. We need more officers. We need more protection as our town grows, as our town flourishes. Just as we are getting more businesses, we also need more protection. Guess what? We'd have money for that if we weren't fighting against closing the court. We need our court. Our people deserve to be there. And let me say this as an attorney. It's not Crown Point that you're going to go to. You're going to go to Hammond, okay? You're going to go to Hammond because that is the least stocked court. And so there's a system based upon the amount of cases that they have coming in. And so those cases that come from Merrillville are going to be shipped to Hammond. And that's how far you are going to have to drive in order for you to go to court. You're going to have to go all the way over to Russell Street. That's where you're going to have to go. So I think it's a disservice to the citizens. I think that we could work together, all of us could work together to find programs that would be beneficial, not just for the court, not just for our children, which we need the truancy program. It actually works, you guys. And it has to be some teeth in it, because if the parents don't think that anything is going to happen to them, then they won't pay attention, okay? But if they're looking at a judge and the judge says this is what you have to do, then the parents take that seriously because it's working in other communities. But also, even the town could benefit from the court being here by sitting down and thinking about programs in which we can use these blighted houses and all of these other things that are happening, and we can create programs to generate money for the town. Thank you.
Samuel Payan, 407 West 89th Place. I have a great idea. Hopefully you all support me. How about we don't give tax abatements to corporations? This way, these taxes can pay for our court. So I have an idea for Sean. Maybe we don't give corporations more money and do that, the wealth transfer from.
Address all of us, please.
How about we have just public comment? Okay, so as public comment, I could address anybody.
No, I'm sorry. You
Okay,
can't. Just
so,
don't single people out. Just address all of us. It's fine.
okay, so I think we can all agree that the tax abatements are coming particularly from one board, but you all are responsible for voting for it, which could have gone into the funding of the town court. I think we all can agree on that. And so you all continue, again, like I said last time, the economic transfer of wealth from the taxpayers, black and brown taxpayers, into white corporations. And that is not fair.
Thank you. Okay, councilors, entertain a motion.
I think you have one.
You have a motion, Mr.
Oh, we do. Thank you very much.
We have a motion.
We do.
Do you
Thank
need a
guys.
second?
No,
We
we're
already
good.
did, Margie.
Oh, we did the second.
Back to the council. Any other discussion?
Okay. Thank you.
I would just like to add, as everyone knows, I'm the ex officio, so I don't only have to come into place if there is a tie. And if there is a tie, you know I'm 100% for the court. I believe that it is one of the core functions of the judicial system. Without a court, we basically would have a court and a police force. It would be the people that have the most money that will rule. And it would not be a fair and just society. In the Bible, in Luke, the 18th chapter, when it talked about the parable of the unjust judge, they asked the question at the very end, when Jesus comes back, because there was this lady that was asking for mercy or asking for justice from a judge. And this judge didn't care about God. He didn't fear man. But this lady kept coming saying, grant me justice against my adversary. And she wasn't asking for a favor. She was asking for justice, an unbiased opinion. And then at the very end of this particular chapter, Jesus said, but when he comes back, when he finds faith on earth. And that faith that he was talking about was not people believing, because people are always going to believe in something, whether it's God, Buddha, or whatever. But the question is, are they going to believe that they'll be able to get justice when they go to court? And that's what he was talking about. And I believe that when we operate a court, particularly in the town of Merrillville, for the residents of Merrillville, we'll have more likelihood of getting justice because we'll be electing that judge. And he may be somebody that understands that a kid is not from a perfect background, and he may give him a break that somebody at Lake County or some other place won't give him. So I really support the court, but it's totally up to the counselors. And if it's left to me, I would definitely be voting for the court. And thank you.
Any other discussion, councils? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Abstain.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Abstain.
President Bella.
Aye. Moving on tonight to ordinance 25-05. It's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing additional appropriations in the 2025 budget fund and the rainy day fund. The amount is $193,591. Mr. Griffin, anything to add to this?
Mr. President, this is so that we can actually pay for a payloader apparently we've already paid for.
Okay.
Well, then I guess we better approve this.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
I second. That would be me.
All right, Leona,
Okay, Leona.
open for discussion.
That's for Sheila.
Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella,
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries.
All right, so this is,
Moving on tonight to a resolution 25-17. We referenced it earlier in the meeting. It's a resolution authorizing and directing the town manager of the town of Merrillville to submit a project proposal for community development block grant funds for the fiscal year of 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, seconded by Mrs. Uselak for approval of resolution 25-17. Mr. Griffin, has a project been selected yet?
Mr. President, I still need to confer with you under the terms of this agreement. We didn't get any public feedback, which I would have welcomed. I have conferred with leadership and staff. We're inclined to recommend that the $151,000 that we're going to receive be used entirely for removal of neglected homes, but under the use of the unsafe building law.
thank you, sir.
One of the ways that that will help us is that law will allow us eventually to recover the money that we've been given so the grant can continue to serve us. And one of the things that is reported to me constantly by code enforcement and others is that there are several homes that this would be helpful for us to have these resources to be able to remove from their locations. That is what our recommendation will be unless there is something that comes forward from the policymakers.
Mr. President, to Steve, I do have one question.
Mr. Pettit.
Steve, have we done, in the past, we've done ADA. We've done handicap ramps on sidewalk replacement where there are bad sections.
Correct.
Where are we at with that whole program?
We did a program, we actually did a CDBG ADA program, sidewalk and ADA program last year.
Okay.
Up on the north end of town, 58th Avenue, Massachusetts over there, so. But as, with our construction projects, as we pave roadways, we update handicap ramps as we're
Okay.
legally bound by the ADA Act. So we update them every.
All right, that'll take care of it as we do the paving.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, this is a simple resolution. A voice vote is adequate. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on tonight to Resolution 25-18. What's the council's pleasure on this? You want to defer this? Do we have our workshop?
After our meeting. We make a motion to defer till after our meeting.
Motion to defer by Counselor Neal. Is there a second?
Second.
Counselor Shi. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor to defer signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approves. This evening, we are going to ask for a deferral also on the Board of Zoning Appeals actions. That's the DVG team and the Three Brothers Investment projects. Ms. Hardaway, did you have a motion for us?
Motion to defer.
Second.
Mr. Svetnoff, can we just list both of those like I just said in one deferral motion?
You can list them in one deferral motion.
Okay. That's for both of them. Keisha, on the agenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak, your second stands?
Yes.
Okay, motion to defer the petitioner DVG team. That's a special exception for a car wash on 81st Avenue, and Three Brothers Investment, which is a car wash on 109th in Broadway. Questions or comments on the motion?
Mr. President, on the DVG team,
Keisha.
upon consultation with Mr. Svetnoff, when that comes to a vote, I will be abstaining. I have a fiduciary interest with the petitioner.
Yep. Thank you. You mentioned that in the workshop. Thanks. Joe, just voice vote's okay on this?
Just a voice vote.
Okay.
Just a deferral.
All in favor of deferral signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. These will be deferred, Sheila, till the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Old business, none. New business, none. Public comment. State your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Keisha Hardaway. I live in the town of Merrillville, of course. So I'm making a statement. So following a town council meeting, the clerk treasurer and I had a brief interaction, and I exercised my freedom of speech to express my disapproval of his behavior. I was not disrespectful, demeaning, or belittling. As I turned to remove myself from this interaction, his words were, "Bye, fat girl," and then proceeded to tell me to go lose some weight. This was said in a mean and hurtful manner, as body shaming in 2025 is unacceptable. While we sit on the dais as an elected official, there's an understanding that we can respectfully disagree and that all of us may or may not get along, but it is business, it is not personal. The clerk treasurer in that moment made my disapproval of how he conducts business personal. As a plus-size woman, I understand the challenges and sometimes scrutiny we face, but to be insulted in a public place of business by another colleague, I cannot tolerate. I say this, no matter your size, every person has a voice, and no one should have to deal with bully behavior because of their appearance. This should be a bully-free zone. I appreciate and thank you all for taking the time to listen to me today.
My name is Joseph C. Svetnoff. I'm the attorney for the town of Merrillville. My address is 9801 Connecticut Drive in Crown Point, Indiana. On March 18, 2025, I attended a town council affairs meeting. While involved in a discussion concerning the proposed town comptroller ordinance, the clerk treasurer, Mr. Eric January, in a rude and insolent manner, insulted me by saying, "I'm talking, fat guy." The behavior is nothing more than classic body shaming and should never be tolerated. In my 20 years of municipal representation, 20-plus years, I've never been addressed by an elected official in such a disrespectful, harmful, and mean-spirited manner. I expect better behavior from an elected official and one that also retains a certified public accountant designation. At the end of the day, we all have the right to agree to disagree with one another. But at some point, these two examples of outrageous behavior by our clerk treasurer should not and cannot be tolerated. Thank you.
I'm short, so I gotta lower the mic. While we have just heard statements from both our town attorney and our town council member, again, as you see what my shirt says, we are standing on business and not your feelings. While Eric January should have not said those things to a woman, period, or body shame anyone, these things happened not during town business. Now, the meeting with, on March 18th, that was a private meeting. It was not a public meeting. And people agreed to disagree, as he said, and words are exchanged. They have to also realize that words were exchanged to Mr. January at the same time. He did not just up and call them a name because he was feeling some type of way. He called them out their name out of frustration, I'm sure. But again, we have plenty other business to take care of and not running around talking about our personal feelings because, again, we are adults. Things happen, conversations take place, and it happened after business hours. So I ask that you have any personal issues, you handle it like an adult, one-on-one, or we hassle it out behind closed doors and not bring our dirty laundry to company for all to see. We should be standing together as one. That is my statement.
Good evening, everyone. Ian Davidson Dugan. I'm the president of the Merrillville Fraternal Order of Police Local Lodge. I'm talking to you guys today. I want to bring to light some issues that our officers are experiencing regarding, sorry, can you guys hear me? Regarding our payroll. We experienced a situation over the last year with several officers having discrepancies in their deferred compensation or 457B plans. These officers had their money withdrawn from their pay, and then it wasn't deposited into the plan. And one officer in specifically, he was out about a few $1,000s, and I'm not sure how to calculate how much lost interest he might have lost with those things being deposited, but that's an issue that has been recurring. I don't know if it's been completely fixed, but there's also been issues where officers are experiencing mysterious withdrawals from their direct deposit accounts. It's my understanding that if the town has to do that because there's an overpayment, those officers need to be notified, and that's state of Indiana code, and that happened to several officers on varying amounts. So it's strange that these things are happening. Additionally, there was, I think, 4 or 5 payments that were failed to be made into our PERF, our state pension for our officers, and this was to the tune of almost or over $200,000 that was not deposited into our state pension fund. I believe that's been corrected, but I'm just concerned about what kind of oversight that's happening regarding these issues and how they continue to keep happening. And I don't think officers need this added stress of having to police their own payroll, and it's just added stress on the officers that are already having a stressful enough job. And I'm hoping I can get with members of the council or anyone who's involved in this process so that way we can correct these issues and the police the police don't have to police their own banking and payroll issues. Thank you.
My name's Scott Molchan, with the president of the local 5489 Merrillville Fire Department local union. Tonight we're just kind of doing the same issues along with PD, with the pension as well being not deposited correctly, and we just want to be assured from the council and everybody that this is not going to continue to happen no matter what the circumstances, how they go about doing this. We don't need, like PD, we don't need the additional stress. We want to know when we go to retire, we're going to have the funds in our account and there's not going to be any issues. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of these and it's going to be handled and taken care of and not happen again. Thank you.
Shonda Flowers, more so as a resident as well as an employee, 6137 Connecticut Street. I am a plus-size woman. I was bigger than what I was at one point. At my highest, I was over 300 pounds. So the sensitivity with regards to being oversized and called out of your name would piss me off point blank. And I had that conversation with my friend Eric, because one thing as a woman and a woman of color, there's nothing worse than trying to be diminished by how you physically look. But here's what I am asking for is consistency. May 16th of 2024, let me go back a little further. April 29th, 2022, I know this day very carefully because it was one of the worst surgeries that I had. On that day, my employee was called court bitch by the town manager. Emails went through as far as May 18th, and them simply trying to reprimand and hold that town manager accountable. And I have all of the emails that have gone back that they thought that this was personal. It absolutely was, because she was a subordinate. She is here tonight. She had only been working for the town for a little bit over a year, when actually the person he probably wanted to call a bitch would have been me, but because myself and Judge was not here, the inconsistencies and how fast that happened in comparison to this matter being addressed 2 weeks later. When it came down to other issues that have happened in our office, when it came to addressing, no disrespect, but let's just talk about blackface. The time frame in which the matter was resolved took months. It took social presence, and it wasn't until it was actually on CBS News where they ran a story on March 1st, 2021, to then and only then get the council, not this council, but the previous, and some of which were on that council. What was upsetting at that time was you would think that this picture by itself of a council person who had that seat, who sat here and had blackface picture and thought that this picture was funny, but it took a long time for it to even get to a vote for him to be censored, and he was not. He voluntarily stepped down out of the committee. The council did not hold him accountable to something that was deplorable, not just to the employees of the town of Merrillville, but to its residents, because we are a majority town that consists of colored people. And yet, let me just say, according to the Mayo Clinic, with regards to weight, every time I go to the doctor, they call me mortally obese. I am fighting every day to get my weight under control. I have had 7 major surgeries within the last 5 years in an effort to get my weight and my health under control. I am amazed, but I'm not surprised, because, Councilwoman, I agree, no one should be called out of their name, period. But the problem that I have is the inconsistency in which one matter is handled and one is not. Before my minutes end up, let me just say this, and this is with all due respect. Had there been a woman in HR that would have been called a court bitch, that matter would have been resolved quicker. Had there been a young woman who worked in the community center, who had a family member that sits at a council, been called a community bitch, that would have been resolved quicker. But my employee in an office for which was in litigation, we felt was retaliatory because it was not handled in an appropriate manner. So when you say you respect your employees, respect us all. I don't not anyway support Mr. January calling anyone out of their name, because I think we are all professionals. But I will say this, it starts at the top. And unfortunately, for the past few years, this council has been inappropriate in how you have conducted yourselves in personal meetings and how it has come over into this particular meeting. We all need to do better. And it starts with us all looking in the mirror and being accountable to behaviors you know have happened. Even when my friend Councilman Leonard White was called stupid. You all need to all do better. Thank you.
Brian Messarch, 68th place. President Bella, I want to start off, and I will continue to start off asking you for a sit-down meeting. I think that it would be great. I want to thank you for emailing myself and the Merrillville Change Agency to discuss our proposal for a garden club and a bicycle club. I think those are positive things that bring us forward. I want to thank Councilor Shi for your Saturday community meeting. That was a wonderful get-together, and it echoed things that Leona said at her meeting the week before. The community loves those chats. Steve King, we see you guys out there patching the road, and I know people don't think you're doing it fast enough, but we see you, and we appreciate it. And we thank you, because you guys, I know you guys used to be called the Public Works, because you guys do a lot of stuff, and you guys deserve kudos for a lot of stuff, not just street stuff. So there's a lot of positive that we should focus on. But I'm going to tell you something. I have a little bit of a disappointment. When you have a person, when you have a counselor who wants to complain about bullying, I'm going to give you an example. I walked into Ms. Hardaway's community meeting, and I was almost asked to leave because I'm not a Ward 7 member. Being called out like that, the Indiana Open Door Law actually applies to your meeting, and I was going to be very happy to leave. But throughout the meeting, being told that I can't talk or I can't comment about my community, come on now. My point is, I've seen things and I tried to read a letter about someone who was concerned about the toxicity. I was cut short. But it leads to a bigger thing, and I'd like to echo what Shonda said. At some point in time, we need to start resolving things a little bit better than we are, because it's a little bit tiring. It's a little bit sad. We can disagree. I've disagreed with Mr. Pettit for a long time, but I don't think I've called him a name, at least not recently. But I'm going to leave the door open a little bit. I'm going to leave the door open a little bit. But the thing of it is we need to do better. And I had a long conversation last week with Councilwoman Neal. And I told her one of the things I most respect about her is we disagree about things, but at least we can have a conversation. That's what I'm looking for. We don't have to agree on everything, but let's have a conversation. So thank you, Ms. Neal, for having the conversation with me. And thank you for those who welcome the community and answer the questions, and even the tough questions. The residents, we appreciate it, so thank you.
'8031 Massachusetts Street, Pablo Payan. So first of all, I just want to thank Mr. Bella for voting to keep the court open. It's some light at the end of the tunnel we see now, and hopefully we continue to vote in favor of the residents. Eric January is a good friend of mine. We've had long discussions, short discussions about business, personal matters, and a good friend will tell you if you do something wrong or do something right. He's not just a yes man. A person that tells you yes man all the time is not your friend. And I understand that what Eric January said was wrong. Regardless, was it a woman or man, doesn't matter. It was wrong. And I think he knows it, and maybe he apologized or is going to apologize. I'm not sure. But my issue is, and especially right now hearing the issues with the payroll, typically when you have an issue with payroll, you go to HR. And HR contacts accounting. Was HR contacted in regard to this? I don't know. The other problem I see is Sean Pett is under the Personal Policy and Employee Benefits Committee, right? And also your wife is the HR director.
You gotta address all of us. Don't call out counselor names, please.
And
Not allowed.
I see a huge conflict of interest here. When your wife is the HR director and you're councilman, your RDC, your Personal Policy Committee, that has a direct influence on who gets hired, who gets fired, who gets raises, who gets time off, who gets reprimanded. What happened to the ambulance service that we used to have? They had to sue the town because they didn't get paid overtime. Now the police department's going to have to sue. The fire department's going to have to sue. Where's HR in this?
My name is Netta. I live at 1134 West 72nd Court. Hello, Council. I'm back. I just want to address what is going on. Being called a name is not appropriate for no one. I don't care. I'm piggyback on Shonda and everybody else that spoke. It don't feel good. I've been big, I've been small, but what we need to focus on is what's important for Merrillville at this point. We have so many other issues to be focused on. Some things need to be handled behind the doors, and bringing it and airing it out to everybody else is not necessary. Name calling is not appropriate. And like I said, I don't care who it is. So we need to just act like adults. I shouldn't be coming to a council meeting acting like this is a circus. It's a freaking circus. My grandson, 2 years old, act better than this. Somebody call me a name. No, we shouldn't be doing this in front of everybody. Some things should be handled amongst you guys. And I appreciate it. The next time I come, we standing on business, standing on what's important for the town of Merrillville and how to make Merrillville better. All this other stuff and foolishness is not necessary. I just want to thank you. And shout out to my girl, Sherry Schultz, who ain't here.
Hi, my name is Joy Whiteside, and I'm the office manager in the clerk treasurer's office. And I'm here because I just heard what the officer said about their perf and their DEF comp. But I want to bring to your attention that last year, the town and the council decided that their employees would no longer pay the 3% for perf, and that the employer, town of Merrillville, will pick up the 3%. And with that being said, a conversation should have been held with The perf, it was not. Our conversation should have been held with Boyce, the system where we pay, that we use daily, and it was not. So when it was time to make those payments, it was not an easy transition at all. And it took us time. And that is the reason as to why these payments are late. They were late. They are paid to current. They had been paid to current prior to. And since the new payroll admin was promoted to her position on January 27th. It took the Human Resources Department over 2 weeks to add her to the PERF system in order to go in to make those payments. She was added on February 14th. So if we're gonna drop the ball, we all dropped the ball. Everybody dropped the ball. We dropped the ball, the town dropped the ball, the council dropped the ball, everybody, HR, everybody dropped the ball as to why. Because the conversation, we should have all went to the table and said, this is what we plan to do. What do I need from payroll? What do I need from PERF? And that conversation was not had. And had it been had, those payments would have been made on time like they have been made. Now, we do make mistakes. We all do. But I can tell you that some of our payroll, in most cases, I have emails to support. We return payroll left and right. There are departments that do not get payroll to us. We have some today that may slow up the payroll. Payroll is not given to us correctly, and let me explain to you why. There is a check and balance procedure. Whoever processed the payroll, it is the department head responsibility to check it and sign off on it. And what I am learning, that it is not happening. Therefore, I have 2 departments that I have requested that no longer payroll can come over to our office without a memo stating that they have checked the payroll. Payroll is always incorrect in certain offices. And you may not know about it because I don't do that. I work with them directly so that we can resolve matters. But that doesn't seem to happen on our end. It seems like certain people are thinking that because the clerk treasurer, Mr. January, has come in, that these payments are purposely done late. They're not. Since he has been here, he's new. We have had a payroll person that has left. We have one that came in that stepped up and took a role. It wasn't for her. And then we hired someone else. It's a transition period. But we have worked, and we try to do our best. And that's all I can say, but we cannot sit here and blame his office and blame him like he's purposely not getting things done. That is not the case. It's not. And I'm here to tell you, I witness it all the time. I send out emails left and right with payroll. I guarantee you that. I have the emails to support that. Thank you.
Good evening, council and constituents of Merrillville. Glad to see y'all coming out tonight. My name is Leonard White, former Ward 7 councilman. I am here tonight because I did want to say something. First, I want to say something to the police chief. Thank you for the great job you're doing out there. I always want to tell you, and I'm still going to White Castle at night, so I do see you guys out there.
Thank you.
Secondly, in the terms of name calling, I've got called names. I've got called idiot, shut your mouth, you talk too much. Seen Miss Kelly Gibson leave out of that room crying because y'all was bullying her, and you know who you are, since you don't, so I'm not trying to call out one name. But at the end of the day, I can take it. So I just want to let y'all know, before y'all pile on Mr. Eric, you need to remember what y'all did to Leonard. Okay? I have not forgot. I'm just taking a break from being a councilman because I don't make enough money being a councilman. At the end of the day, I just think that we got to continue to move forward. And names calling should be done by anyone. Now, you do have a First Amendment right. You can say whatever you want to say in certain cases. But I suggest, and I think people know who they are when I said they call me an idiot, and I'm still looking at idiot on TV. I'm like, dang, that was a harsh word. But I never forgot about it, but I know I'm not an idiot. But the fact that it was said by a leadership person in the council, I think that bothered me the most. I'm done. Word.
Good evening again. My name is Robert L. Buggs. And before I get started, I just want to remind you all of something. I was here about 3 years ago. You see this, I showed this picture to everybody. It's 3 black women that was raped, beaten, and hanged while they still was alive. This is one of the persons that thought it was funny. Funny. This is a better look of him. He was on the town council. I mean, up here. So I wrote an article. Here he is again. What he did, went out and got blackface, an afro wig, a black shirt, said kill Whitey, and in here he's handcuffed over like this, and a whole police officer is hitting him over the head, and they thought that was funny. So I came to this council 3 different times. One time it was still like this, and Mr. Hardaway pulled it off the agenda, so we're not going to talk about it. I asked Mr. Bella, the president, several times to censure him. Censure him. They refused, so that means if they refused to censure him, then they was okay with him making a joke out of my ancestors being tortured and hung and beaten. So to come here tonight and to think this is first and foremost to censure him publicly when you had a person sitting on your town council that insulted a whole race of people. Whole race. Not once did I hear him ever apologize. So you all, not the new members, but you all, matter of fact, I said, if you don't censor him, then that means you're in agreement with what he's doing, making a joke out of this. And you did. It's not funny. These were my ancestors that was hanging from the rope, that was beaten, that was set on fire while they was alive. This is what you all, I gave several of you all a packet. They took the packet and turned it down. When you look at it. Also, there's about 300 police officers in here violating the fire code. Is out over here, all around the wall. But not one would stand up and say this man was wrong. Also, I heard that Mr. January, his job was being divided or downplayed or whatever to take away his authority. So I just want to remind you all, he was elected clerk treasurer by the citizens of Merrillville. That's right. 2 or 3 people cannot now redefine his job description. And that's what you're doing. Now, we all know why. We all know why. I mean, Ray Charles can see it. Thank you.
Darian Collins, 2505 West 65th Avenue. So I want to come and I want to lift us back higher, okay? Like Michelle Obama say, when they go low, you go high, or whatever. I can't remember now, anyway. Okay. I in no way support negativity or body shaming. I no way endorse bullying. But we know that sometimes people get pushed to a limit and they say things that they should not say. And we have to have a mind of forgiveness. If it's a one-time incident, or even if it's twice, we have to have a mind of forgiveness. We should operate with professionalism, respect, and cooperation. Now, I am extremely proud of this council for several reasons. Not because you always vote the way we want you to or what the residents want you to do, but the promise and the hope that I see. This is International Women's Month. Never in the history of Merrillville have we had 5 women on the council. You 5 women should be running things. I'm gonna say that. You should be running things. Do you think the Republican, I'm going to say this because I can say partisan things. Do you think the people in Congress right now in Washington, do you think that they're running things the way they want to run them because they got the majority? Yes, they are. And they don't care who don't like it. We have 5 women on this council, the first time ever. It is a proven fact that women can work cooperatively, they can work collaboratively, they can work by consensus. They work up and down and across. They can bring people together because women don't operate as much on ego and puff and stature as men, that we work together. And so we want to see that from you all. We want to see that. There are 4 black women on this council. I'm proud as peacock of that. I don't want these other communities saying we got mess going in Merrillville because we got black people on the council now in the majority. Do you think we want that? No. No, we don't want that. We want to be a standard bearer for what can happen and what is possible, okay? And so, yeah, we made some mistakes. Everybody makes some mistakes. You know, things happen. I'm not telling people how to forgive or who they should forgive or what they should do, but I am asking that we put aside some of the pettiness. I know this man is frustrated. He was opening a business and he couldn't get an occupancy permit and he couldn't get the fire department to let him clear his business. He couldn't get that from within the town of Merrillville, so he had to go downstate and get it. That's frustrating. That's frustrating. So let us work together. I agree to disagree with you. I'm so glad that we voted to keep the court open. That was pressure, wasn't it? That was pressure. Because we know how some of you all have voted in the past. So I'm asking, we have some tremendous opportunity. We have a great makeup on the court. Let's make some great things happen, okay? Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Jeremy McShirley, and I live with my wife, Danielle Kakmar, at 111 East 73rd, the old red brick house with the big walnut trees out front just off Broadway. In 2020, we purchased our home, and today we are happy to announce the formation of the Walnut Grove Historical Society. Our founding board of directors is dedicated to restoring and preserving Walnut Grove and all of the region's historical landmarks and habitats. After attending a screening for a documentary called Save Briar East Woods and listening to a lecture by Professor Kenneth Schoon at that same screening, I decided to support the Grand Avenue Alternative Plan in nearby Hammond. Last night, our board voted to endorse the plan as well. Here's a sample from our press release from this morning. The town of Merrillville has, in recent years, adopted the slogan, "The Heart of the Region." At the center of that heart is the Morgan Skinner Boyd Homestead, also known as Walnut Grove. It is the site of Meegwin's Village, purchased by one of Lake County's earliest settlers, Jeremiah Wiggins, in 1833. Since that time, each subsequent resident has worked tirelessly to develop, restore, and preserve this 150-year-old historical landmark. If Merrillville is the region's heart, then Walnut Grove will strive to be its soul. The Walnut Grove Historical Society, a dedicated advocate for the preservation of natural and historical resources in Lake County, Indiana, today announces its strong endorsement of the Grand Avenue Alternative Plan for addressing the railroad crossing issue in Hammond, Indiana. This unanimous endorsement from our board comes in response to concerns surrounding the Governor's Parkway Overpass project and its potential devastating impact on the Briar East Woods and the ecosystem of the entire region. Walnut Grove recognizes the will of the people of Hammond, but we also recognize the interconnected web of life that connects our communities and are part of. The removal of that ancient dune land in Hammond will have a negative cascading effect that will become a long-term detriment to not only Hammond, but to the very region our board has dedicated themselves to protect. Time is of the essence as federal funding has nearly been approved. The Walnut Grove Historical Society urges the people, organizations, and municipalities of the region to carefully consider the Grand Avenue alternative and prioritize a solution that effectively addresses the railroad crossing issue while protecting the invaluable Briar East Woods for future generations. We believe that a responsible and sustainable approach is essential for ensuring the long-term well-being of the community and the preservation of its natural and historical heritage. Join Walnut Grove in our endorsement. The Governor's Parkway overpass may come to pass, and a generation from now, most of us won't even remember. But if the town of Merrillville endorses the Grand Avenue plan, it will show our town's commitment to our environment and the people who work to protect it. Think of the possibility. Would the Sierra Club have their convention in Hammond?
Please finish up,
Or in
sir.
Merrillville? Would they have a national park in Hammond or Merrillville? Eco-friendly tourists will travel down that interstate to gather. They will dine in our restaurants, they will shop in our stores, they will fuel their vehicles, and they will return home telling their family and friends of our amazing community. We've chosen the slogan, "The Heart of the Region," to represent our town. Let's show everyone in that region that we mean what we say and we do what we believe. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Sabina Miller, 3120 West 75th Place. First thing, Eric, I really want you to think about what you've done. When I was a teenager, I was body shamed, and just last night I told a friend that story, and it's really upsetting, okay? So I want you to think really hard about doing this, whether it's on town business or off town business, but that's not a good thing to do because it sits with you forever, right? But I want to remind the town council of a couple of other items that happened just a few years ago, where one was sitting up there and read and threatened us with being removed from this room if we dare bring up during public comments anything that wasn't already on the agenda of the town council. That was very inappropriate, very threatening, not really a good thing. I want to remind you of another statement that happened, and that was, "We hate cops." Anybody remember that? Was this person reprimanded? No. Did this person get asked by the president if he had any statements, and he was sitting like this and said, no. We had the fraternal order of the police here about this entire issue, yet nothing was done. So to make an example of one or two people is not a good thing. Like we heard earlier, the consistency is important. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Either you do it all the time or you don't do it ever.
That's right.
Samuel Payan, 407 West 89th Place. So before we came here, it was pretty full. We were outside, so I'm thankful that we were here. And hopefully everybody that wanted to be here is here. But we were told we were at fire capacity. At capacity, but when I look back, we had a row of firefighters. Somehow they're not counting the occupancy rating. I'm not sure. So a comment about the digitizing all paperwork into a cloud storage. That's awesome. I just don't know if, I just question if Merrillville has bought a ransomware insurance, as that is pretty prevalent. The reason for that is because if we don't have that, then we're going to be liable for some ransomware, and there goes our money that we don't have because we gave it to our tax abatement to Crow Holdings. So as we evaluate people's resume, like when I apply for a job, I have a resume, and that is the experience that I've had and the things that I have been able to do. So far, in the past 6 months, I've heard this is the resume for the town council. Defunding the police. Today, we heard from Chief Newsis that because of the tax abatements and the tax structure and how we allocate funds, now they're unable to participate in our MTOS, if I'm saying that correctly. So we are not supporting the police officers. That's what I heard. The transfer of wealth, again, from public dollars to private monies. We're defunding the court, and that was an attempt for that for many years. Okay. allowing unethical practices, whether that, as other people stated, there's people on the council that have direct relationships with people that work in the town. See, another thing I've known, that attempting to raise property taxes and attempting to stopgap Eric's business. I know that is, out of all the other businesses that came across, none of them were asked the occupancy rating, and so that seems to be not right. And then, but we have to remember, everybody, we have to really remember, Kroll Holdings gave us walkie-talkies, okay? We have to remember that, okay? Thank you.
Maceo Rainey, Vice President, Prairie Creek Homeowners Association. Mr. President, in the 1960s, Ray Charles wrote a song called Georgia on My Mind. I woke up this morning with Merrillville on my mind. And to the residents of Merrillville, I wanted to share with you, and also to the council, politics can be somewhat of a contact sport. And what I mean by contact sport, sometimes verbally, it can get kind of rough. And at times, depending on where you're at, can get downright physical. But if this board, for 1 second, has a problem with Eric January in his seat and his capacity, wait till I'm sitting on this council. Oh, Lord. Wait till I'm sitting on this council. Okay? However, part of my leadership DNA is the notion of being a gentleman. I feel that a gentleman is the highest form of man there is. So, community, you can only expect gentleman-like classy behavior from Maceo Rainey. But, Mr. Town Manager, when you stood up and talked about your time at IU Bloomington.
Just address the council, please, sir, not
Well, to
individuals.
the council, but
Please.
we know who we're talking, because we've had an opportunity to share what some of our members have said too. But during my undergraduate days, as not only an honor student at Illinois State University, but I represented the men's football team as the captain and the running back for Illinois State University's football team, while you were studying in the library with me doing the same thing, but also representing the university with the earned degree in political science with a concentration in teacher education. So I'm very well qualified, very well read, very well traveled, and very well understood. And to the citizens again of Merrillville, I can share with you, that day is coming. That day is coming when we have leadership that can take the heat. The process of being a leader is taking criticism, taking heat and criticism when you fall short. I won't run, I won't hide, I won't duck, and I won't come to the community asking for you to protect me on any of those items. So keep that in mind. Politics is a hard sport, and sometimes a physical and also a verbal sport. With me representing you, I can take the heat. I can take the pressure. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Again.
Hey, I just wanted to say.
Kelly, you already spoke. No,
It's gonna
Kelly.
be good. It's gonna be.
You already spoke. That's
I
not
just felt
fair.
like I needed to
It's not
speak
fair to everybody. What if everybody wants to speak twice?
No.
Okay. You know?
I spoke on a motion.
So we're not going to follow rules tonight?
Let her speak,
Go ahead,
Rick.
Kelly.
Well, you can stay here till midnight. I've done
I
this
was
before.
simply going to thank you guys.
Well, thank
all.
you.
I was just going to thank you for taking the time to think about it and to decide to try to work together. We just need to do better. We really, we all could do better. We all could do better.
Thank you. Amen.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Eric, can I go? Eric, can
And
I go before
I'm
you,
going to be
please?
very quick.
Can I go before you?
I'm going to be very quick.
Okay.
So I have to admit, I can be very brash, just like Maceo Rainey has said. This is a full contact sport, and I have been attacked, and I've been representing the people that have elected me and going to bat. I have no problem with fighting with anybody about anything for the town of Merrillville. I'm passionate about the town of Merrillville. And, but that is not an excuse for some of the terms that I have used, particularly in regards to being overweight. So I definitely regret that. That was adolescent. And I told Shonda, because I did it twice. And after that second time, my sister told me, Eric, you are just acting uncharacteristic. Because anybody that knows me I don't snap. And, or my wife is looking. Oh, Lord. So, and we're talking about the kids. Anybody that knows me, I don't snap. I work with women. I've got a ton of women clients, African American, every ethnicity that you can think of. And nobody will ever tell you in 30 years they've heard Eric snap, and they're shocked when they hear the things that I've done since I've been on the town council chamber. And a lot of it has been stressed because we haven't been working together as a team. I think that we've hopefully reached the lowest point of that. And I think that's why I want to thank President Bella today for just deciding to pull 2511 off the agenda, because that's one of the main reasons that the majority of you all came out tonight, because you support me. And I certainly appreciate that. But I think that hopefully we're going to be turning this corner and moving in the right direction so that we can work together as a team and make Merrillville a better place, and just do the things that we need to do to make this community grow. In terms of the payroll issues that you all had with the fire department, police department, perf, a lot of that, if you look at it, all of our payments, as my manager mentioned, were all on time. It only happened at the beginning of the year when we were going through this transitionary period and we could not make the payments at all. In terms of any other mistakes that you may have seen, please, I'll give you my cell phone number. The chief has stopped by my place before. I have no problem. Let me know so that I can correct it. I don't run behind anything. I'm not afraid to admit mistakes or anything like that, but that's also one of the reasons I want to outsource payroll. But I'm not going to take any time. I know it's very late. I really appreciate everybody coming, because I also believe all things work together for good to them that love God and are called according to his purpose. You all would not have come out if I had not made some of those statements and this other stuff had not happened. So, but I do apologize. I apologized once before. Although this stuff was behind closed doors, I apologize publicly as well. I won't be making derogatory statements.
Thank you, President Bella. I just want to say that every single person that got up and spoke, they verbally expressed how they felt to Councilor Hardaway about the statement that was made to her. After the statement that the person made, they said, but. When you are making a statement to empathize with somebody and you say, but, you cut the entire statement out. That is simply saying, hey, girl, I was raped too, but guess what? That's exactly what you're saying. And so you're demeaning the fact that she was offended and that she was body shamed. And so I just want you all to think about that. Most of this council did not sit here when some of those things that happened in the past. We are here to try to correct it. And so to sit up and go back into all of that, it totally takes away from just her expressing herself, and Joe, I don't want to leave you out, and Joe expressing himself. We are elected officials, and there's a standard of excellence that should be held at all times, even behind closed doors. When we are behind closed doors, we have to be mindful of one another. We cannot come out of there clawing at each other, bleeding, and then think we're going to get up here and hold a meeting that you all won't see that we're bleeding. So there is a standard of excellence that has to be held. I told Mr. January, I was appalled when I heard that. I was in disbelief. And I just have to say, it was done with such ease and such grace. Wasn't the first time. You can't make me believe that, because it was done with such ease and such grace. I accept it was totally up to them to accept your apology, but I just wanted to say that because, yes, we do have to do better. And just as Counselor She said, that we don't need to air our stuff out here, but most of you all know, people up here air our stuff out there. So it's been done one way or the other. And that's all I wanted to just say. That I do recognize and what you guys have said, and I'm hurtful that that did have to happen, and we even have to have these discussions.
Okay, let's just go on with business. Let's do our jobs as council
Come on,
people.
Arch.
Let's go on with business, and good luck to everybody and to our court, okay?
All right.
If there's no objection, I will adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.